I'm Lewis Mason. I'm a postdoctoral research associate based at the Department of Genetics at University of Cambridge, and Kate Baker is my supervisor. I've just finished my PhD, and today I'll be going over a bit of work that I did during my PhD, and that was combining genomics with patient demographics to inform antimicrobial treatment of shigellosis in England. So as a brief introduction, what is shigellosis? It's a severe gastrointestinal illness caused by Shigella species of bacteria, and it's a disease that's transmitted via the fecal-oral route, and that's primarily associated with transmission or travel to lower to middle income countries and the consumption of fecal contaminated food and water. But it's also a sexually transmissible disease, which has emerged in men who have sex with men since 1974. And basically, this presentation is me showing you my PhD work, or part of it, that involved working with routine genomic surveillance data from UKHSA of Shigella species from between 2015 and 2020. So using that routine sequence data, I produced this phylogenetic tree. As you can see, it's like a ring more than a tree. And basically, the closer the isolates are together, the more phylogenetically related they are. That's the simplest way of putting it. You can see metadata rings, so sex and travel, and those correspond to, so the colors correspond to different metadata labels. So male is green, and then travel is lots of different colors depending on where each isolate is associated with. Travel to, these are all isolates from the UK, but people obviously have traveled to different places. And as you can see, so there's a big chunk of isolates at the very end of the ring, which I've highlighted the branch in red. And basically, those are all mostly all MSM-associated Shigella isolates because of male, obviously. And there are little pockets around the tree of other like male clusters as well. But we'll be focusing on the red branch today. So MSM-associated shigellosis is phylogenetically distinct from non-MSM-associated shigellosis. So as you can see on the travel ring, there's that blue patch, which is travel to Asia. And then before that, there's travel to Africa. And then at the end where the MSM-associated isolates are, there's travel to Europe, which is, lower risk, or just no travel whatsoever. Or missing travel data, which is why some of it is white. So what I did after this was, the WHO recommends for antimicrobials, and I've listed 3 of those on the tree: ciprofloxacin, azithromycin, and ceftriaxone. And those are the 3 main treatment guidelines for treating shigellosis. And as you can see, ciprofloxacin resistance appears about 7 o'clock, and then like as a conserved chunk. And then azithromycin resistance, and then ceftriaxone resistance. And as you can see at the very end of the tree, in the male cluster isolate, there's where you can see where there's ciprofloxacin, azithromycin, and ceftriaxone. So obviously the color represents the gene conferring that resistance being present. So that is a concerning cluster at the very end of the tree, because that's triple resistance, which we called extensive drug resistance, as per WHO treatment guidelines. So as a result of seeing that, I thought, well, there's quite a high risk of treatment failure if people are using those 3 recommended antimicrobials in MSM-associated shigellosis. So I asked 23 hospitals across the country what treatment they used, and on the right is a map of showing basically the location of the hospitals that I asked, and then on the left is their responses. And as you can see, they are in fact using ceftriaxone, ciprofloxacin, azithromycin, which I just showed you as being those isolates being resistant to, which was concerning. So then I asked, can demographics be used to inform shigellosis treatment? And in short, yes, it can. So effective treatment can be tailored by patient demographics. So this graph shows isolates resistant to antibiotic as a proportion, and then the colors represent the different antimicrobials, so azithromycin, ciprofloxacin, ceftriaxone. And as you can see, unfortunately, in presumptive MSM, so that's taking sex, no travel to higher risk regions, and age 16 and above. And as you can see, there's resistance to all 3 across the board. But then in adult females and children, there is discrepancies in the amount of resistance, especially in comparison to PMSM. But where the most interesting and maybe perhaps most useful information is from the travel-associated demographics. So as you can see, there were no isolates that were resistant to ciprofloxacin in the returning travellers from Africa associated isolates. So perhaps ciprofloxacin would be a good option for treating those people. Yep. And then, so as a result of those results, we collaborated with some healthcare professionals, and we published this piece of work basically showing everything I just said, and also incorporating some more detailed clinical information as well. So if you'd like to read that, please do. There's a lot of interesting stuff, especially about the future treatment of shigellosis and potential antimicrobials that could be used.